Hello everyone, this is Tiffany of Whitney and Tiffany. I am here today to do a skin video for you. So we are going to be looking at our skin set. So I am going to open this up and I'm going to start with our auto skin smoothing. So the wonderful thing about this is that it selects your skin, and sometimes it can get a little bit onto the clothing, so you can watch that and easily take it off. But it is the only action I have ever used that does this, other than another program that you can purchase that's like $200. So this is just a single action, and it selects your skin. It smooths your skin, but it also keeps the integrity of the skin as far as contrast and texture are concerned. So my daughter has freckles, and I like to preserve those. And sometimes when you use just some skin smoothing actions, it completely takes all of that away. So that's why this is so wonderful. All right, like in our other tutorials, you click on the little arrow, and here's what we have. So it selects our skin, and then we click on that arrow, and this is what this does. It pops the highlight, so it brings some light into the face. It adds contrast, texture, and smooths the skin. So this is a backlit portrait. Her face was dark. I am going to want to add some light anyway. So if I turn this, by the way, this is a straight out of camera. I just did some liquefying of her hair. So on and off. Now, if you're not digging the yellow or this color, you can turn that to any color you want. I sometimes like to make it kind of more of like a peachy color, but that's what I do. But considering the background and where she is, I'm really actually liking the yellow, so I'm going to hit OK. It's at 25% if you want more light. And see, now she's looking more yellowish green to me. So I'm going to leave it at the 25%. But what's so wonderful about all these actions is, number one, none of them need to be flattened, which is incredible because you can continually go back and make tweaks if you'd like, or you can see what you've done and you can play with all of them. So I like my skin a little bit smoother, but I'm going to be showing you all of the skin smoothing, so I don't want to take away too much of this. But typically when I use just this action, I personally bring down the contrast and the skin texture, only because I like smooth skin. This is at 50%. If you wanted super, super smooth skin, I can zoom in for you. You can see this is 0. This is 100. It's set at 50. I am going to just leave it at around 50%. So I am going to come on up here and turn this off and on. So I can see down in here, it's kind of coming onto the front of her dress just a tad. So I am going to grab a black brush, and I'm just going to brush that off of here. And then I always like to brush it off of the lips, and just to make sure the eyes. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out and I am going to take a look at that. All right, I am just going to drop this actually a little bit. All right, the next thing we have is also included in the Ultimate Workflow. This is the only skin smoothing that is included in the Ultimate Workflow. I will play it. It is a paint on, but like the automatic skin smoothing, it does preserve some texture and some contrast, but it does not add the pop of color. So I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that. I am going to grab a white brush, and I am just going to go under her eyes here. Smooth that out a little bit. Smooth out on her chin. She pulls a lot of red onto her chin, so sometimes when you smooth that out, I'm going to go here, but we will work with color a little bit later. So you can see what that is doing. I am going to drop the opacity of that, and I'm going to come in here with a black, and I'm going to reduce the flow to 50%, and I'm going to just take that a little bit off from under her mouth. All right, the next skin smoothing that we have, so again, these are all examples of skin smoothing. They can be used together, they can be used separately. This is doll face. So the other ones preserve contrast and texture. Doll face will not. It's actually going to bring a little bit of brightness into your skin. And I'm only at 50%. I don't even have a white brush. I am at 50% right now, but this is going to smooth your skin, but it's not preserving any of the texture. So if you want a really, really smooth skin with maybe a little bit of pop of color, this would be good for you. So if I turn this is at 50% opacity, or flow, I'm sorry. You can see it has brightened her up and it's taken away some of that texture in her skin. So I am going to drop this down to about 12%. And then lastly, we have glowing skin. So this is something that you want to add to spots that you want to, it still is going to blur your skin, but it's also going to give you some color, a pop of brightness. Her sweet little nose. I'm going to go up here, kind of like when I do my highlighting. So if I turn this off and on, you can see that it's, for me, way too much. So I'm going to drop this down. There's no rhyme or reason. I literally just use my eye. So, okay. So this looks good to me. I am going to grab a snapshot of this. And so this was my straight out of camera. And here is where I just did the liquefying of her hair. So we can go from pretty much straight out of camera to this. So this to this is our skin smoothing. So now we have skin pop. So this is what is going to really make that skin pop. We're going to add some definition back in with dodging and burning. The first thing that we have is an under eye correct. So many people use just the patch tool and you, goodness gracious, you can grab under here and patch down. I can't do that with my daughter because she has freckles. So it literally puts freckles underneath her eyes. So we've added in this under eye correct in case you are in the same boat or if you just want to try something different. So we don't need to flatten anything. That is what is so wonderful about these actions, is that you never need to flatten. And I'm going to just hit play, and it says, using the eyedropper, select the proper skin color. By the way, we're going to get this fixed. Right below the under eye and hit continue. So I'm going to grab my eyedropper tool and I'm going to try to pick a color that is not a freckle. And then I am going to grab a white brush and I'm going to put the opacity and the flow low, because otherwise, and I can show you what it's going to look like if we don't do that, but even now it might be kind of bright. So you can see what this is doing here. I'm going to bring the flow up just so you can see. Now I am going to reduce this opacity way down. And I don't love this color. This is too, it's too yellow for me. So I'm just going to move it on my own by double clicking. And that looks a lot better to me. So if I zoom out, and then I'm going to just drop this opacity a little bit more. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to grab a color in here. And then I'm going to come over here with a white brush. I'm going to bring this up. And I'm just going to fill in here under her eyes. Sometimes you'll need to run this twice. I'm going to run it again. And come on up here. I'm going to double click here. I'm going to try this color. So this is obviously way too bright, but I can drop this opacity way down. I'm just gonna come over here too. This one, they're both in the shadow. I don't want her to look like plastic, so we need to have a little bit under her eyes. But this looks good to me. I'm gonna grab a black brush at 100% and just go over the top of both of her eyeballs to make sure that I don't have any that went over onto her eyes. Okay, so if I turn that off and on and turn this one off and on, you can see this one's at 3, they're both at 3%. So very, very low, but it takes away some of that under eye bag. All right, the next thing that we're going to do, and this is also included in the ultimate workflow, is cheeks, lips, and teeth. So the folder comes up and you click. I am going to go down and start with cheeks. And I am going to grab a white brush, and I'm at 100% opacity, and I am going to dab. Now, this to me is too strong. I mean, and if you want it stronger, you can make it stronger. And I'm not sure I love this color. So just like the eyes, we double click on here and I can play around and find a color that I want. If you want it more of the red on this end, you can do that. All right, I'm going to choose this color. And then I'm going to up the opacity a tad. I like that more. I like it in this picture. I don't want, she's already pulling red, so this pink looks good to me. I'm just gonna drop it down. All right, the next thing is the lips, and this is the exact same. If you don't like this color, you double click on the solid fill layer and you can change the color. If it's too much, you can drop the opacity. She's not showing her teeth. And then I am going to go into all over glow. So I am going to use this at 100% and kind of just blend in the cheeks and right here. And actually I'm going to come up here too because it's in the shadows. All right, so if I turn that off and on, you can see that it's giving her a glow and it's way too much. So I'm going to drop the opacity back on that and just turn that off and on. Still too much. I am going to go back to this. And I'm actually going to make this a little bit darker. Okay. That might be what was throwing me off there. All right. Now that we have our cheeks, lips, and teeth done, we are going to add some dimension back in by dodging and burning. So I can run this, dodge, burn, and glow. These are also found in the ultimate workflow. I'm going to start by burning my skin. You can do one of two things. You can leave this at 100% and you can drop the opacity way down, or you can leave it at the 90 that it is, and I'm going to hit Command Z, and I am going to drop my flow up here. I usually do between like a 2 and a 3, and you can just fill in and build up. It's always best to have less and build in more. And that's one of the ways that you can get that painterly look. Going in between her fingers and her nostrils. I'm just using my bracket key to make it larger and smaller, to make my brush larger and smaller. So if I turn that off and on, you can see the dimension that it's bringing back into her face. So Dodge Global, you can use to, at a higher opacity, to dodge the hair. You can dodge, I can dodge her hat here, adding in some light. And I've got it at only a 3%, so I'm just going to use it to dodge her skin. She had such a nice, this was taken this summer. We're in Wisconsin, Whitney and I, and right now our skin does not look like this. In fact, I think we've seen the sun peek out maybe 3 times in the last 20 days. It's been a January here. All right, so if I turn this off and on, you can see adding that light. I am going to just pop that down a little bit. Now, if there's certain areas that are too strong for you, you can simply click on the black and grab a black brush and you can completely take it off with 100%, or you can adjust the flow to take it off however you'd like. All right, so let's see what else we have here. Burn Global, I'm not going to burn anything else. I'm not going to burn her hair. I'm not going to burn the background. Here we can glow extra highlights. So I'm just going to go over her fingers again. Okay. And I'm just going to grab the inside of her eyes. So that's adding in a little bit of extra punch there. We have skin burn. You can go back in and burn the skin, which I've already used, so I'm not going to do that again, but I can show you. If you wanted to go back in and add, I'm at 3%, a little bit more dodging, or I'm sorry, burning. Adding glow, that would be to the areas I just did where you want a little bit more, and I'm going to leave this, we're only at 3%. And then if there's a spot where you want to add some contrast to your skin, so perhaps over and, well, it's not going to work if I don't have a white brush. So you can turn that off and on, and you can see off and on by her lips there. I can do a little dab on the cheeks if you just want to add a little bit of contrast. I don't really want to. I like smoother skin, so I'm going to leave that. Okay, the last part of this package is so good, and it is skin color balance. This is like life-changing. So here's where you take a look at your skin and you say like, okay, I'm seeing like in here, it looks like maybe some grays. It's still kind of red in here, and you can pick and fix. So I'm not seeing a ton of yellow. I can run it and show you. So I'm going to bring my flow back up. And these are, I usually just adjust the opacity over here, but you can run this and it'll take the yellow out of your skin. And see, now it's looking blue because she doesn't have a lot of yellow on her skin. So I'm just going to take that. I am seeing some red though, and this is spot red reduced. So it's not, you have to pick and choose where. So I am going to run this one, and I'm seeing some red in her nose here and under her eye. I'm going to back this up. Kind of in through here, but some of that's in the shadow as well. So if you see, here she's got some major red on her fingernail. If I turn that off and on, so this is now really yellow. We do not want to leave this at 100%. I like to brush it on at 100% and then do the opacity like this so I can see exactly where I'm brushing it. If you don't like this, you can just reduce the flow or opacity up here. So if I turn this off and on, you can see it's taking the red out of those areas. I am going to take my black brush at 50% flow and run that over this shadow. So I know it's red, but it's in a shadow, so I'm going to leave it. So off and on to get rid of those red spots. Blue. I'm going to take this here. This is if like your skin is very cool. It's not cool because it's the middle of summer and we are literally in a sunflower field. But if you see, I mean, this is not going to really work here, but that will help you with that. So the reduce magenta and the reduce orange are also found in our ultimate workflow, and they are two of my favorite magic makers because they are one click. So I'm going to play reduce magenta, and I can zoom out and turn it off and on, and you can see it now. She's almost has a green tone because that's what we're doing to get rid of the magenta. I am going to just drop this down. She's not pulling a ton of magenta, so this is not, these color or skin color balances, you will not use all of them. So it really is picture by picture. You need to use your eye and you need to see what colors are showing and what you need to fix. The other two, you could very well use everyone in the set if you'd like. This one you will not. So I'm going to hit reduce orange, and we obviously have a lot of orange in here. But I'm not doing it, I'm not going to do it on the background. I just want to watch her skin. So I'm going to play reduce orange, and you can see it, watch the background, off, on, how it takes away that orange. I am going to click on this and hit Command I. Now I am going to, with a white brush at 50%, paint this on her skin, just to take out any of the excess orange that she has. So it's a very, very subtle change, but it's there. I'm going to go under here because it's a little orange because of the shadow. All right, reduce. This is another one that is a favorite of mine. Reduce gray skin. So this is going to be like, wow, when you see it, it's a lot. I'm going to keep it at 100%. And I am going to just tap on areas where her skin, like in the shadows, sometimes we can get gray. She pulls gray around her mouth right here. And okay. So I've just tapped on the areas where I'm seeing gray. There's a little bit up in here too. Now, again, you can, instead of having it, you can keep it at 100% opacity and just do the flow, but I like to see where it is. So I am just going to drop this way down, turn that off and on. And I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to bring that down even a little bit more. I am going to click on my black and grab a black brush at 50%-ish, and I'm going to just run this here. Okay, so I'm going to grab a snapshot. I'm sorry, I may have forgotten, I think, on the other one. So this is where we started. This was after the skin smoothing. I apologize, I forgot to grab one after the skin pop, but this is our final image. So using our skin pack, we have gone from this to this. So we have defined skin with texture, but I have been able to brighten her skin up. I've been able to give her some definition. After this, I would go through and I would do maybe a little bit of frequency separation, which is another, and I can run this. I would try to get some blending in here. And then I'm going to add the non-destructive layers, and I can show you because these go together. They're both skin. So we would click on here. So we have the texture, and then this is a non-destructive layer, meaning I can do anything to this and it's not going to, I can always delete it and start over. So it's not going to stick if I don't want it to. So I'm going to zoom in here and see if there's any places like this tiny little hair. So I'm going to grab my clone brush and hit my option tool over here. And I am going to just go over this little hair. So now I've taken out some of her eyelash as well, which I usually put eyelashes on my subjects anyway, only because I need my clone tool. It really opens up their eyes. I'm just hitting my option key and painting over, and it's taking away the texture of the hair. Sometimes I can click up here. It works nice for a little eyebrow waxing as well. Okay. So I'm going to zoom out. Still seeing a little bit here. All right. Then I will go to my blur/color edit, and I'm going to grab a mixer brush. I usually have, my brush is pretty wet, my load is at 50% and my mix, but my flow is lower. And I'm going to come down here, and I am just going to circular movement here. And I'm going to come down and try to bring some of this color into here. I can come down here. And then I can come up into here and still work on her under eyes. Okay, and if I turn this off and on, you can see that it just did a nice job of blending. And if I turn the whole frequency separation off and on, it makes things a little bit more smooth. I'm going to drop the opacity of that. And I can take a snapshot there. And then I would go through and I would love to do golden contrast, which is found in our color toning pack. So if I turn this one on, off and on, it just gives her that beautiful golden tone. I would maybe drop this down a little bit. And then I would also go into our ultimate workflow and then work on her eyes to really, really make her eyes pop. But I need a white brush to do that. My flow is only at 43%. I'm going to bring this up to 100%. I want her eyes to really pop. This is going to be way too bright, so I will have to drop the opacity here. Otherwise, we never want like glowing alien eyes. I know sometimes it's fun to see the difference, but we also don't want it to be unrealistic. I'm gonna drop this down a little bit too. You can do either. I like adjust the eye color because that's going to add in some brightness as well. I'm going to hit Command Z there because I went out of her eye. I'm trying to hurry up because really this is supposed to be about skin and I'm getting crazy here. I would double click here to add in some color, and then I would drop this way down. I usually do between 10 and 15. And then, of course, sharpen the eye. When she's in studio lights, her eyes, her limbal ring is not very dark, so I would darken it, but in this case, it already is, so I don't need to worry about it. So if I turn that off and on, you can see it really pops her eyes. So this would not be a completed edit, but it's pretty close to it. I can grab a snapshot. I would still do some other things with my color toning, but since this was really supposed to be about the skin, I'm going to stop here so I can show you again. This is where the edit began. Again, I had just liquefied her hair a little bit to give it some movement. This is with our smoothing, and then this was with our entire skin package. So going from here to here with our skin package, adding in some gold with our color toning, and then finally adding in the eyes. So in the end, I'm going to do one more thing just to show you guys. I like to do the final touches, brighten. I'm going to do this. I'm going to run this for us as well. Adding in some light. I'm going to click on there and hit Command I. And with a large brush, I'm sorry, I'm babbling and going on and on. It's hard for me to do this and not have a completed image. All right, so if I turn that off and on, that's perfect. It adds this beautiful light to her. All right, so now this is where the edit began, straight out of camera. And for now, I am ending here. I would also put some lashes on her, maybe a little bit more color in the cheeks, but I'm going to stop because this is really just about skin. But as you can see, our skin set is amazing. Our ultimate workflow, the skin smoothing in there, is wonderful as well. But if you really, really want to take your skin to the next level, I 100% suggest purchasing our skin bundle. All right, everyone, I hope that this was helpful. As always, we are a learning platform, so if you have questions, concerns, anything that you want our opinion on or help with, please post in the group, reach out, ask. We are here to help. Thank you all so much. I hope you enjoyed it.